What copy?
Thank you. Alright.
That's weird.
Did you get one of the short chairs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a couple of them floating around that don't.
They don't come back out.
That one doesn't
back out.
either. Yeah.
Okay.
Now I know what it's like to be, what's the diplomatic way to say it? Little person? Small person?
Hi.
Good morning. Get the coffee out of the way. Alright, so drug-free communities.
Yes. This is the cool beans. So, this actually is their 501c letter, C3 letter from, Natchez.
Do I need to be a part of this?
Okay. Binder review yet? Definitely not PHA name. So let me see what this eligibility thing looks like that they're talking about. They say it's, attachment 3. What is attachment 3? It's just appendix. Special DCF funding. Okay, here it is, it's appendix H. So this is all they want,
So, and it would actually apply for them because the coalition itself isn't applying, the housing authority is.
mhm.
So they would be entering into the MOU with the housing authority.
So the housing authority is applying, the housing authority will enter into the MOU with who? The coalition,
Mhm.
okay. So do we have a MOU?
Handy dandy right here, okay.
To approve nonprofit status.
So this is the one that, like exactly what came out of the,
Exactly what came out of the
Mhm.
notebook. Oh, okay, so they even have the MOU provided,
Mhm.
oh,
They
wow,
pretty much
that's
have
nice.
everything provided,
Her tools are all basically straight
Yeah.
out of the notebook.
Mhm.
most of them are, yeah.
That's really good.
I was even able to do the budget based off of it, like it's just great.
Are you requesting the full amount?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Lou Drug Free Coalition, that's the name of the coalition? I love it. Oh my god, okay, that's good, that's good, that's good, okay. Alright. So what's the game plan? Cause this is kind of, we're working backwards, forwards.
Yeah.
All over the place.
So there's a couple. Here's where I've kind of gone with the narrative so far. For the section 1, I do have to get in contact with her because it's like specific things to do with the coalition. That it definitely would be better getting information rather than me trying to create stuff on my own. Because it's talking about like what struggles they've had as a coalition, becoming a coalition and everything. So I do want to speak with her about that. I started to look up some statistics. It is hard to find statistics on youth. But I was able to find, tobacco and alcohol use. And then, hold on. And then,
This is the narrative?
yes,
Okay.
it's,
You created this, or this is something they provide us?
this has been created with the exception of, this table right here. This
Okay.
table was provided.
Alright, so I want a little like personal, well, I guess if they talk about their struggle, that will be personal. But we need a introductory first paragraph. We're in this area has a high, youth substance abuse
Yes.
rate. It's very scary, we need to find a way to protect our youth. A program like this would be great, we can do this for this.
So then I could basically, cause I kind of went into that,
Here,
but I kind of went to that here and here, so I think what I can do though is take out some of the information from here and implement it into the first paragraph, as the intro.
nice, right next to the river.
So I'll put that as the intro and then come up with a, I'm gonna move this over the table, and then I'm gonna move this into the intro.
So this is, stats, which I want, what you just said, I want exactly. What I also want is the human element. I want you to talk to the reader from like a boots on the ground. So these are stats about the community. If these are the stats, what's the actual implication of these stats? Like, tell me now, what's the implication of these stats in the community?
That is,
Think
So-
about it, if there are 65 alcohol-related deaths in youths for this, period, what does that mean for the community, for parents, for other students, for other youths that are experiencing that?
right, so the best way, I can answer that at this moment is part of the application is wanting to know like, the number of youth that have a court date set because of substance abuse, how many have been admitted to treatment facilities.
That's statistics. I'm talking to you about what is the implication on society. Okay, so we come here today and we found out that 3 people were shot over there. That's statistics, 3 people were shot up. What is the implication for us in this office? What does that mean for us? How do we feel? How are we going to exist? How are we going to continue on? That is the human element you need to express to the reader. So these are just statistics, no emotion. You must bring the emotion to the statistics. What's the implication that there were 65 alcohol-related deaths in youth for this period? What does that mean?
I mean, there's definitely grieving parents and friends and everything.
So you have grieving, you have parents, you have friends, you have other youths, and there is a desperate need for something to get done. That needs to be up here. The reader needs to be hit with that before they go into stats. Everyone will have stats. So one of your intro will be we're in desperate need of something to get done. And if we don't get help, we don't know what the future of our youths will be. Here, we have 65 XYZ related deaths. Our parents are in griefs. Kids don't know what to do. They need a program to help them with this. They're traumatized. Parents are traumatized and helpless. They're doing everything they already know to do, yet these statistics, and you're telling them about the statistics, are still happening. If we don't get help, the situation will not get better, it will not be changed, it's going to get worse. We must get this grant to do something to help ourselves. Now you start going into, that's why we formed the coalition. Even though we were struggling, and you start telling the story of the struggles. Something that is critical with reading, the reader won't know how to feel until you tell them how to feel. For instance, if you say to a reader that it was, give me a really cold temperature, like 50 below 0 Celsius, I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's supposed to be cold. The reader will not feel cold until you tell the reader it is extremely cold. I was beyond cold. I could not function in this cold. I thought I would rather die than experience this cold. The reader's like, crap, that's cold. But if you just give them the temperature, the reader will never feel that cold. You have to tell them what to feel. So that is something that I must communicate in order for you to tell the reader what to feel. Okay? All right.
Alright, so what else do we need to finish up? Is there other stuff that you need from the client to finish the narrative?
I think that's the only, just the first section, everything else you can do. And then I was gonna have to work with her to make sure she's getting not just their signatures, but the signatures of the coalition representative, or the official coalition representative.
Right.
She has all of,
I saw the letters that came in, I was gonna talk to you about those, yeah. They're all missing a signature.
Whose signature is missing?
the coalition representative.
The authorized official signature, the signature for official coalition.
Is that our client's signature or the other part? So we're still missing their signature?
Well, yeah, so on some, okay, so the ones where it's coming back from the individuals, they signed it, but it wasn't forwarded to the actual, coalition, the official coalition representative who's representing everyone. That person has not signed anything.
So it's this signature right here.
And it's
This
the-
So
one-
we have the sector representative, which is the
No.
media.
Did
Did they sign them backwards? Because the sector representative signs here and the official
So
coalition,
then they did it backwards.
because this is the sector parent, so the
Yeah.
parent would sign here.
So I think they signed those backwards.
So they sign in a wrong slot.
And we're still missing the second
And so I have
signature.
the official, yeah.
So all 12 members signed in the wrong.
We don't even have all 12. We only have the two.
Is it of the ones that I forwarded you?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, she sent me, I think it was the MOU, that they're only applying for, 1 grant at a time. And then like 3 or 4 of the, individual sector.
What do you mean they're only applying for one grant at a time?
So you can't, so for, or not apply, but you can only have one grant from this department at one time.
So you had to sign this,
Oh, to say.
that you only have,
That
you
you're
only
only
have
allowed
one.
to for one
TDFC
other
grant
grant.
at a time,
Mhm.
okay, so can we send her a email asking if we can electronically sign on her behalf?
I don't think it's her, is it?
We can't electronically sign anything.
Oh, everything has to be hand
Mhm.
signed, okay.
And
And it's not specifically her
She's
either,
not the-
it's.
whoever the head of the
someone else's
coalition.
So she's not the head of the coalition,
Mm.
Miss Lewis. Whoever Miss
Whoever
Lewis.
Miss Lewis is.
We need Miss Lou right here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright,
so there's some challenges.
And she knows this. She knows that the signatures are on the wrong side.
I didn't even realize that they were signed in the wrong place because I was
I just
very quickly-
reviewed and found it out
Yes.
late yesterday.
Because if we can change out the PDFs, then probably that won't be an issue. So, meaning, if we can delete all of this and just write the proper, entity whose signature it's below, or, whose signature it's above. So, and then switch this out. Now, that's going to be a great undertaking, but that's better for us to doctor the PDFs here with just putting the proper titles under the signatures than to track those people down again for another signature.
And then we still need the,
So that's a solution I'm offering. Is that a viable option or?
I don't see why not. I mean, we're not electronically signing.
No, it's just,
It's a real signature still on the page, where you're just flipping the text from one side to the other, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Alright, so I'm asking this question. We need the signature that we need, this is just one person signing off on all of them. Well, can Bridget put us in contact with that one person and then we ask, or can Bridget ask if we can just hand sign on this person's behalf? If we have that in writing by email, that we have approval to hand sign on this person's behalf, then we can just knock that out here. Or that's basically the last resort, but otherwise, we just need to get these to that person for them to sign.
that was my plan this morning, was to reach out to her and,
See, cause she does know that those have to be signed, so.
Mhm.
I'm surprised she didn't even,
I'm surprised she didn't get them all signed by the coalition rep first before she went out to all the individuals.
Mhm.
Cause that seems like they're all on a coalition together, that would have been an easy thing to do.
This coalition was created for this grant, like, there was not a coalition, and I don't even think this coalition is active. I introduced her to this grant, and she formed the coalition just because she wanted to go after this grant, but it never existed, and I don't think they're active.
Gotcha.
definitely for what she wants to do, I think next year would be good for her to do the SOP grant, because we don't need the coalition, and it's all kind of the same thing that you're doing the street outreach to, it's more along the lines of what the housing authority does anyways, and then it addresses teen pregnancy and drugs and everything. So I think that the SOP would be really good for her next year.
We definitely need to figure out what, the deal is with the 501c3 for sure. who we're applying as, what the final judgment on that is, because you have the grants.gov, but you also have the ERA Commons registration, so we need to get that.
So that's not, wouldn't we say that the housing authority would apply then? If all they need to prove eligibility is just signing off on that?
Yeah, just whatever the decision is on that, that's fine, then we need to move forward, and make sure that we get them, registered in ERA Commons.
So that process has already been started.
Okay.
They applied, like, as soon as, they applied a lot. So,
Where's the first page of the narrative? Oh, it's number 3, okay.
it's page number 3 because, it starts with the table of contents, and then there's an overview, and then it's the narrative,
Oh, okay, okay.
and then the contents has to be page 1, so.
So in my mind, we can create the history of the coalition, because this is just 10 pages, right? So the history of the coalition is that they, as community members, saw this extreme need based on the stats. The kids were getting into trouble. They were at meetings talking about what to do. They decided to form a coalition. The issues were they had to get so many people actively involved to express what they would like to do for the kids and stuff. So that's the issue. The issue is, even though people wanted a change, to actually get people active to contribute to the change was a challenge. That was a challenge. To have a unified voice in what to do, that was a challenge. To identify how to approach the problem and the solutions for the problem, that was a challenge. So we can say that those are the challenges. Discuss how your mission statement adheres to the elements outlined. Do you know what their mission statement is?
I do not. I tried to get like tried to search them and stuff, because I was gonna try to search them before asking her, and I can't find anything, so I have to.
Do you?
And if they don't, we make one up.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking, like, let's just make up a mission statement. I mean, Miss Lou, Drug Free Coalition basically says it all.
Yeah, that they're,
Okay. Because what I'm trying to do here is just bring this to its conclusion without.
there's a certain verbiage in the grant, so I'll just kind of reword that verbiage as my mission statement.
Okay, so it says here, goal 1, increase community collaboration. Increase community outreach by 20% in year 1. Provide information to the community. So you created these, objective or strategy, or did
Yes.
they?
Yes.
Okay. Did you create the goal?
No.
They created the goal for you, so the goal was to increase community collaboration. Okay. So you said this would be the activity, who would be responsible by when, okay.
That's what they have.
By when?
Yeah,
They have the
this
table,
table.
okay.
Yeah, I was like, what? But, okay.
Do we have the coalition minutes, meeting minutes?
No, I have to get that from her.
Did they give you these activities?
So those are activities where I found them in, this that they reference.
Okay, to affect community change. Provide information education, enhance skills, provide support. Okay. Enhance skills of staff and participants. Okay. Media presentation, workshop for participants. Increase community you're increasing community collaboration. Then you're meeting as well. You would have to, have regular meetings. Monthly? Quarterly?
Quarterly.
Okay. You have educational workshops. The way that I'm reading community collaboration is that you're working with not the participants so much, but you're working
With the
with,
community.
yeah, the community members, like the parents, the schools, the teachers, probably other civic organizations. So if you're doing that, why would you be doing educational presentations for those?
To create an awareness to the community of what's actually going on, how, like, where it started to where it's going. Part of the educational presentations are your statistics, so as you're running your analysis, you can say, well, this is working, this is not working. The community has to be aware of what drugs are most easily accessible, who's doing what, all of that.
How can you say that here so that the reader knows? Cause when I read this, educational presentations, I thought you were doing this for the kids.
So then, okay, because,
No, I mean here, cause I won't get to this section yet, so.
this is talking about, will be implemented. So I would just do paragraph underneath each of these to describe what it is that each will entail.
I would say just put it in there. So your activity could be a paragraph. It could be, doing, educational workshops to inform community stakeholders like schools, civic organizations, youth, organizations.
I think that's just, yeah, even just that.
I just was,
Yeah.
just for, reading purposes, like when you put a lot into tables, it can be hard to read.
Yeah,
so.
so I would go with the, educational presentations to civic stakeholders or community stakeholders to raise awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll try and keep them to a sentence, so it'll be easy to read and won't. Workshops for participants should probably go.
Well, I will,
The
we can take out
participants,
participants, cause participants, when I wrote that, was more so whoever volunteers to participate in it, so do the community.
Yeah, community stakeholder.
okay,
And then media/marketing,
Yeah.
community to the community.
in quarterly meetings with, and you're saying that you'll be meeting with the civic organizations, okay. Who is responsible? Project coordinator, project coordinator, project coordinator.
That's the skills of staff.
Enhance skills of staff and participants. So this is that, so the same thing is, we know who is responsible for doing it. We don't know who it's being, is it effected upon? or, yeah, we don't know who is receiving it. So I know it's staff here, but increase skills of participants through activities. What are the activities? Staff member training on what? Like cultural awareness, substance use sensitivity. So it has to be flushed out more, because as a reader, I have to think too much about what you're doing. You need to tell me what you're doing. So what are you doing?
So the,
So for
So I
instance,
have to
workshops
create-
for staff, what's the topic of your workshop that would enhance the skill of the staff?
so workshops on how to do effective outreach, workshops on how to, work with the community and the participants as far as, educating them and the youth.
So what's the title of that workshop? Effective outreach workshops for
So-
staff?
I'm seeing it as we're running through it as that being, having the workshops for staff and then having that bulleted list under it. Where one is called like effective, just covering like the topics, we don't need, but the topics, effective outreach, education strategies for youth. Common drugs of, abuse/misuse. So they would have a workshop to help them understand and identify what drugs they're dealing with in the community.
Mhm.
How about one on law enforcement?
Identifying at-risk behaviors.
So you could have like maybe a list of 6 of these that you would put under, just to give examples for the workshops. I see workshops and staff member training as being the same thing. So we could probably get rid of one and the other.
As a matter of fact, you could have just 2 activities. You could have your workshops for staff, workshops for the participants, and those, just the title of
Those
those
6
workshops
things
that
under.
captures what the workshops are doing. Now, the project, you have project manager doing the workshop? Have you budgeted in for a trainer to come in and do any trainings?
So they have,
Because here, this raises the issue for me, is if this manager is doing the training, who is training the manager?
so there are required,
They have a 100% match requirement.
yeah, they do, but they are required to do the, coalition trainings for the DFC, and then also, additional trainings for specific,
So they have that mandatory training that they have to go to get trained, okay, alright, fine. That needs to be here as well. That you know that they will be enhancing their skills by going to that mandatory training.
so that's,
Okay, so let's, instead of getting rid of one of these 2, use the workshops for staff and then do the workshops for participants with the bullet points. And then that staff member training, just put that mandatory staff member blah, 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 blah training. So it kind of differentiates it from the training they're gonna do on their own in the community.
And who's the responsible party for that training?
so, definitely so we can do the project coordinator for the workshops at that point. And then the program manager and the project coordinator will go to the mandatory, trainings, so that they can then implement it to the rest of the staff.
Perfect. Change the physical design, I don't know, what does that mean? Change the physical design?
Kinda just changing the environment so that there's less places, like there's no dark alleys anywhere, there's no like large shrubs that kids can go behind and do anything like that. Making it more of an open landscape and creating more lighting, so there's less.
How would a coalition affect changing the physical
So
design
they would
of?
have to work with the city to be able to, get some of these things implemented.
Alright, so then saying provide outreach in areas youth commonly congregate, is that really the activity? Provide outreach in areas youth commonly congregate.
So they don't feel like they're like, I think I understand what you're saying on that one though, like you've got like kids that, you know, they all go and they hang out at the playground at the park and there's never any adults around, so it makes it an environment that's
So if you're actively.
conducive to them doing drugs in the playground because there's never any adults there, so if you're going to those areas, then you're making it so that they're not unsupervised all the time, they don't have that opportunity. Okay, we probably maybe explain it a little. Work with the community to create open landscapes work with the community to increase lighting throughout the city. We can probably reword it a little bit.
Reduce youth substance abuse, youth substance use will decrease by 20% in year one. Okay, so as I see this number here, it's bringing me back up to here where they're saying, hold on, you're the one that put in objective one, increase community outreach by 20%. Okay, since you're putting numbers there, it would imply that you have to show your numbers here. Cause how did you achieve this goal of your 20%?
Well, I think that's the objective, and then these are the activities to meet that objective.
But you, how as a reader know that your activities will meet this objective? Because you haven't given me any numbers to say you will do it. So it's best not to introduce the reader to any numbers if you don't have associating numbers in your activity. You would have to say you're going to do this by whatever you're trying to reach here. So if you're, the only way you can have numbers here is to have numbers here. Because I am going to save $1 million this year by saving more, by putting money away every week. But how much are you putting away every week to meet your, if we know you have 52 weeks in the year, how much are you putting down every week to meet your 1 million savings? So what if you just say that, what if you're just putting away $10 every week? What if you're just putting away $1 every week, 1 cent every week? You would have, if you're introduced, what I'm saying is take the 20% out. Cause you don't have any numbers to justify that it will be decreased by 20%. And I would say here as well. If you're leaving that in, you have to add numbers to justify.
Is there any requirement
For
that we have
numbers.
a percentage as an outcome or a?
No, and I originally didn't have it in there, and then I put it in there so it could